Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Manning Up on Real Estate podcast. This is your podcast for your local news, strategies, and interviews in the real estate market of Vancouver. I'm your host, Cameron Manning. So in our very first episode today, we're going to be talking about the concept of through adversity comes opportunity. Now, in our situation, in our current market, there's a lot of different adverse conditions that are putting restraints on the market that we have today. But those realtors and those investors who see opportunity in those adversities are the ones who are going to propel their business towards success and be able to beat out their competition and stay in the market. So the first of those adversities that have come up in our marketplace, this one's more geared towards the realtors right now, and that is the change in the agency laws. There's been a lot of changes here, and in fact, it's almost like they took the Working with a Realtor brochure, and what used to be 2 pages is now like 21 pages. So there's a lot of restrictions that we as realtors are having to do in regards to how we talk to clients, how we engage with them, if we're hosting an open house, what we can and can't say. Now, I'm hearing a lot of backlash from this and totally relatable and totally understandable why people are mad. Heck, I was mad when I first heard about it too. But again, this is the cards that were dealt. So that's kind of what we're talking about today. Dealing with the cards that were dealt and finding a way around it. Now, this is definitely an adverse situation. You're going to have a lot of realtors who don't know how to follow the rules. They don't know what types of forms they need to use. But at the end of the day, if you're one of those agents who's able to adapt and change to the change in the market here that we've been dealt, you're the one that's going to be propelled to future success. Now, here's the biggest deal. If you're working an open house, you can no longer just sit there and talk all freely that you want to the client. You actually have to filter yourself a little bit. So I'm hearing a lot of the backlash from that saying, well, you can't talk to people, period. You basically shut your mouth when they walk through the property. Well, that's not true. If you actually look into what you're allowed to do, you are allowed to be 100% factual. And in fact, that's no different than anything we've been doing for the last however long before these rules have come in. So when you have someone come through, just start talking about the property. They can see, let's say it's a beautifully renovated unit. They can see that that unit has been beautifully renovated. Talk about the cabinets that have been installed. Talk about the types of tiles there. That is all factual information. At the end of the day, your responsibility is to your seller, and you have to sell that unit. Now, obviously, you can't discuss any of the private confidential information of your seller, such as the reason why they're selling, their motivation, or anything like that, but that has not changed. That's always been the case. Now, the biggest difference is when a buyer walks in and they want to start talking to you about their personal needs, that's where you just need to learn to change the script a little bit. This is where the new agency laws come in, where we have to say, okay, before we can go into those conversations, we need to disclose what agency means. If they're interested in the property that you're hosting the open house for, that's more where the issue comes in. But again, it's just learning a new script, something to the effect of, listen, at the end of the day, I represent the seller, so anything that you tell me will be held and used against you in a court of negotiation. That's just a little bit of a side quib there for you. But at the end of the day, that's kind of how it's going to be. So instead, switch it up. Say, listen, because I represent the seller, anything you tell me, I will have to disclose back to them. However, let me call an agent, and they can definitely help you with your needs. It's always better to have your own representation than not. So taking that script, now suddenly you're still providing them some sort of service without actually engaging an agency. You're helping them find an agent that could be their agent. And this is where developing referral sources and referral networks is going to come into play big time. So have an agent that you are already willing to refer people out to and network with that you will send those clients to. Now, let's say they start talking to say, well, the place is really nice, but we actually would like to find a place that looks more like this or more like that. Perfect. Again, it's just changing the script. Well, great. Let's sit down. Let's open up the disclosure of representation, and let's quickly talk about what agency means to you and what client or unrepresented parties mean. Again, you get them to acknowledge that they've received that, and now you can start engaging into more personal conversations and help them with their real estate needs. So going back to it, at your open house, are you doomed? Can we no longer do business? Absolutely not. You can definitely take this as an opportunity to say, I want to excel in this. I want to educate people in the best way possible so that they know that being represented by a realtor is the best thing for them. And again, I look at it this way. Yeah, it's more papers to sign, and most people are going to be lazy and not want to deal with it. That's where your opportunity comes in. If you're willing to do the work and learn the scripts, you're going to be the agent picking up as many buyers as you did before at open houses. So keep that in mind. Again, don't let the negativity all surrounding this change get to you. Now, will there be some changes along the way? Yeah, totally. There's going to be things that aren't working, and we're providing feedback to the council. They might say, okay, we're going to loosen up on this, or they might tighten up over here. Again, as those changes happen, be willing to be flexible, be willing to flow. That's the key here. There's lots of opportunity in our market, and at the end of the day, if things continue in the route, maybe we're going to have the great culling that some of us have been waiting for. Maybe if you're the agent that's willing to do the work, you're going to stick around while others leave the business. Where's the opportunity there? Less competition for you. So again, take this out adversity and really run with it. So the second part of this whole podcast today is talking to the investors. Again, there's an adverse situation happening where we're noticing a bit of a slowdown in our market, and there's no hiding it. It's happening. What is causing it is multiple different factors. Let's talk about the fact that the government has put several restrictions on buyers right now, including the stress test, the taxes that have been increasing. I mean, our government seems to say the best thing to do to slow a market down is make sure people can't afford it, at the same time saying that they want housing affordability and they want more buyers to be buying and more people to be able to be homeowners. It's an interesting scenario, but as an investor who's getting into the market, you are hit by a lot of these changes. But here's what's creating the opportunity here. The market is slowing down a little bit. We're seeing less competition. We're seeing less multiple offers. Yeah, the market might not grow as fast as it has in the last little while, but so what? If you're investing for the right reasons, there's still lots of opportunity out there. And in fact, this is your opportunity this summer. While the market is adjusting some of these new changes that the government has put out, now's your opportunity to lock down as many units as you can without worrying about the multiple offers. In fact, you might actually be able to do some negotiation. So maybe a property's listed at $500,000. Maybe after a little while you can knock them down to $490,000, maybe even $485,000, and feel like you're actually back into the old swing of things, negotiating and being proper investors, getting things under asking. Is that going to continue? I don't know. We'll see what the fall brings when the market starts kind of adjusting to some of the changes. We are seeing increase in inventory, which means there's an increase in selection and inventory for the buyers to look at. So because of that, there's less demand, less competition. Again, while everyone else is now seeing this as a negative and saying, oh my God, the market's slowing down, I better wait. The smart investors are going out there and saying, I'm not going to follow the herd. I'm going to start locking some properties down now. And again, if you're investing for the right formulas or the right practices, there's still going to be a lot of opportunity. If you're investing for cash flow and equity growth versus just appreciation, then you should be fairly safe as long as your cash flow is enough to buffer if there is a swing down in the rents. Now, seeing what we're seeing right now in terms of vacancy, that's probably not going to happen for quite some time. Our vacancy rate still is about 0.2, 0.3% in the Fraser Valley. So maybe buying rental properties and adding to your portfolio is the smart move. You're able to negotiate and sit on cash flow and grow your portfolio. The other thing is if you're flipping properties, again, there's some good opportunity. Now you're able to make some money on the buy. We might not see the crazy growth that we've been seeing in the market in the past little while, where you're able to pay over ask, do a thin margin, and still make a large margin at the end because by the time your renos are done, you've actually gained. Maybe now's the opportunity to go and say, I'm going to negotiate hard on this property, maybe knock them down $10,000, $15,000. That's going to make up my profit because I know where my comps are sitting at for my after repair value. No matter what you're doing, it's about being a smart investor and seeing the opportunity when other people don't. And that's, again, a same situation that we were talking about for the realtors. There's an adverse situation here. Take time to figure out what the solution is, take it as an opportunity, and you're going to be able to run with it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, those are two different examples right now of an adverse situation that we're starting to see in the market, whether it's restrictions that are being put on the realtors or the slowdown in the market because of restrictions put on buyers or increased inventory. Both have their opportunities in there, and it's the smart entrepreneur who's going to be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel and say, this is how I can get around this adversity and still make money. Those who don't and continue to dwell on the problems are going to be the ones that don't do the deals and they don't make money and maybe leave the business. Don't be one of them. Find the opportunity in the adversity. That's the biggest tip that I'm going to give you guys today. This is kind of the flow of the podcast we're looking to do. We want to have some serious conversations and really make sure that we are manning up at what's coming towards us in the real estate market. That's how we're going to succeed. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. I do appreciate it. Again, this is our very first podcast, so I appreciate all of you coming to listen today. Also, if you're looking for more information or more tips and tricks, you can also check out my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Cameron Manning. You can also follow me on any of your favorite social media. I'm on most of them there, so we can connect and find ways that I can add more value. You can shoot me some DMs. If you're listening on Anchor Podcasts and you have questions, you can also send me a recording or a voicemail on Anchor, and I can definitely play those on the next future podcasts and answer your questions that you have. And if you haven't already done so, go and subscribe on whatever podcasting platform that is your favorite. And don't forget to rate me, help me out with this podcast, and I'll make sure to help you out with your future real estate needs. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you in the next one.